Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope when you woke up this morning, your candidate of choice won or they came close. I know there might be a few who might be discouraged today, and I know there's going to be some who are elated. In fact, I know one person who's elated. A paralegal in our office today has a new job and a pay raise. And congratulations to Judge Tina Whitfield in our office. Really excited about that. And we got an exciting show today here. We got a new guest. But first of all, I want to introduce, as you know, PJ Dunn, the Dr. Phil of Dallas.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Everybody survived last night? Okay, good.
Hey, good morning, Gary. And then we have Michael Lamb here with us, who is going to help talk about unifying, a project he did recently, and we'll talk about that a little further.
Yeah, what is the topic of today?
Yeah. Let's get to it. So last week we talked about division, and we went into how divided this country is, and part of it was looking at the top. And we talked about, the country, we talked about organizations, businesses, and today we're talking about how to unify. What are the elements to unifying? And again, we want you to like this, we want you to share this, we want you to chime in. This is interactive, we don't have all the answers. Right. And so, PJ, is this okay for us to talk about this subject today?
It is, because it'd be wrong of us to tease it last week and then not talk about it this week. So,
which one would be to tease, baby?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But as you guys know, we did talk about what are the harmful effects of divisiveness, but we don't want to just leave you there, because then that'd be like a movie that just starts to show you the villain kicking the good guy's butt, but then nothing else happens. So today we're going to talk about, okay, so how do you unify in a situation where there's nothing but what appears to be just wall-to-wall divisiveness. And then we have a guest with us today, and you know what? Let's give him some shine. Let's talk to him for a second. Why don't you introduce our guest?
So Michael, last night I was at an event where there was a big victory party, basically. And I met Michael, and I understand he was the guy that helped this event right here. He organized it, the Buffalo Tree Festival. It took place in downtown Dallas. You want to talk more about it?
Main Street Garden, back October 7th, we did a big festival. We got about between 5,000 and 7,000 people down there. We had it's kind of a new format for festivals. We got the politics and the music, mixed them together. In between band set changes, we had lots of different candidates in the Dallas County, also statewide. We had Mike Collier, we had Beto was our headline. It turned out good. It did really
music
well.
and politics together.
I
love it. That's something different, right?
It was it was an awesome event. I saw it with the feed everywhere, and everybody was talking about it. And then meeting you last night, I was like, hey, let's get together, because what I saw in that event was a lot of people unifying behind a cause. Okay. And I thought it made a lot of sense to bring him on today. So it reminds me of the fable of Aesop. So I'm jumping right into the fable of Aesop, right? So I don't know if you remember this, and I'm going to do the best I can tell you the story, where there's like a bunch of bulls together and everything. They're out, and there's like a coyote or a lion trying to eat them. And so when they got together and they put their body, they kind of came together where only their horns were out, and they circled around, the lion could never get them. And so he would try to attack them, but he couldn't do so. But then at some point, one of them decided, hey, I'm going to go down this way, and I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to do my own thing. And guess what happened? He took out each one of those animals because they were not together. And so when a house is divided, it will fall and crumble, or you'll get eaten. And so what we're trying to do is unify. Is there any points you want to bring up about that today?
Well, yeah, so we talk about collaboration, and in this lifetime, we've seen what happens when people from disparate type backgrounds collaborate. And they end up producing some great things that we wouldn't see otherwise. So diversity is good from the perspective of you do want to unify, because you have no idea the different perspectives when they come together, what they might produce together. So it's like the old saying, it's what we could do together that you couldn't do by yourself. Yeah. And so divisiveness is on purpose trying to control everything, putting one person in power, when really we would all benefit from having several people throwing in their thoughts on how things could actually work and how things could actually be better and how we could troubleshoot them.
Well, and so if we look at the message of Beto, can we do that right now?
All right.
It appeared to be a unifying message, and I think there are some people today who might be a little discouraged. Maybe,
of course they are.
maybe because the message seemed to be one of bringing people together, and it was a positive message. Yet our candidate didn't win. What can you do? What can we take away from that? Is it that the unifying message wasn't working, or should we be focused on divisiveness, or what are your thoughts on that?
So what it seems to highlight is where are we as a community? Where are we as a group of people? And I think the first thing we'll see is that we have different thoughts and different opinions. The different thing is they're not celebrated, they're hated. So now we have to get under the root of, well, why does the idea that someone has to just mention Beto or mention Cruz and it automatically makes the other person pull back a little bit? Like, what is it already baked into the situation that makes you to feel like you have to create an other them versus me, and therefore, even if either one of them is saying a unifying message, can't hear it, because we already have an assumption that just by the simple name, I've already, implicit bias, assigned some certain qualities to this person, and somehow I've told myself I have to disagree with that person no matter what they say, even if they're saying some things that I actually kind of agree with.
I might jump in.
Yeah, please.
Say like Colin already ran with very much almost the same message as Beto.
Right.
Yeah.
And Beto failed on the macro sense of the whole state, but then Colin was came out a big winner on the micro as far as, so I mean, I think it has a lot to do with the makeup of the areas too.
Well, and so I think, so one thing, my first point on how to unify is you need a courageous leader.
True.
And I think that Beto was that courageous leader. And to your point, Michael, so on the macro, I think he had a very positive message and he showed true leadership. On the micro level, there were so many beneficiaries of that message. And you saw how powerful a unified message can be, in my opinion. I think there are so many positive things. If any of you are discouraged by what happened last night with his loss, you should be encouraged by the impact he had that will be a lasting one for many, many years.
Dallas County killed it.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, all the Fifth Court of Appeals, we won every single one. We flipped it from a complete, it was 100% Republican, flipped it to now we're a majority Democrat. I mean, just all the House races, I think there's like, 7 of the 11 that flipped, U.S. Congressional seats were in the DFW area.
That's right.
I mean, and when they look back, 4-6 years when Texas gets more purple, they're going to be like, where'd all this start? They're going to be like, Dallas, Texas, right there.
Well, yeah, and if you look, not only even in Dallas, look down in Houston, what happened down there.
Too, yeah.
Look in Corpus Christi. Look across the state. There are so many beneficiaries to what I would argue one element you need in a unify is a courageous leader, one that will stand up for the right thing, because so many of us will at times don't think it's our issue, our problem. We may know right from wrong, but we don't speak up, we don't act, and therefore people don't know who to follow.
Well, you do need the courageous leader, and then the courageous leader has to do something that's courageous, right?
That's right.
So if he's just taking a talking point that everyone kind of already agrees with, you could say maybe not. But if he's taking on a task that's not popular, and I think of, say, MLK, the things that he was saying in the 60s were not popular, and people were definitely pushing against that and thought that he was the outside agitator, when really he was having the courage to say something that everybody universally should know and should follow, but weren't doing so. So I back up and co-sign the first point that you made.
Oh man, that is awesome! Hey,
see how I just unified that? See how I just unified that? So
well, it takes time to bear stuff out too, because back when MLK, obviously I wasn't alive then, but I do know that, I mean, he was incredibly unpopular at the time.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was.
Especially, I mean, well, man, it was like, I mean, I think the country was, black, white, whatever. It was over 50% disagreed with what he was doing, and and then as far as white, it was like 70-80%. We're like, no, he's just stirring the pot. He's getting things crazy. But now in hindsight, we go back decades later and we're like, oh, of course that's the right thing to do. I mean, history, being on the right side of history, I think that's the way you want to go.
That is a very important point to this, is that sometimes leaders, when they're taking bold leadership and speaking out on courageous things, at that time, sometimes people are not on. They're fearful, and it takes years later for people to understand. Oh, this was right, or whatever. And so, I don't think there's anything wrong for a courageous leader to speak out, because it influences people, and eventually, I think people do the right thing.
Yeah, I think what people need is just that wake-up call, right? Because at that time, I mean, do we really want to assume, if we just use an MLK example, do we really want to assume that all white people were just evil and that the whole specter of slavery was just the thing that they wanted? Or was it better for us to say, okay, maybe they were asleep during that phase and said, you know what? Most people are conflict avoidant. I'm just going to stay out of this thing. It's probably not my fight, so I stay back. And so the courageous leader comes in and stokes that and wakes everybody up and says, no, this is now the time to act. We can't sit here and pretend like this will just fix itself later on if we just let time handle it. The courageous people push that time level up, and they make it more current.
Yeah. I agree with that. And so then I have another point.
Okay.
And so we're going to do 2 more points and see if PJ checks off and says he agrees or disagrees. So to your point of, courageous leader, it matters also what they're saying. I think they have to have a clear set of goals that people can unify behind. And so we can look at Beto's message. Again, I'm going to stay on Beto here. Right. It was a message of positivity, of us working together to benefit the whole, and to bring everybody up. That's sort of the message I got from him.
Yes.
And I think it's that type of message that. And you have to do it over and over again, but that's something that people can be reminded of and can get excited about, and it can bring everybody together.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what good leaders know. The courageous leaders know. They know, okay, here is my goal. My goal is I've got to say something unpopular, but I've got to say it in such a winsome way that even the people who would be detractors could say, as much as I don't like that guy, or as much as I don't agree with his politics, I have to admit, I can find no fault in what he's saying there. And then as a goal, you keep stacking more of those together, and eventually the person has to ask themselves, well, why am I really truly against this? Is this just because of a family thing, we never vote this way, or is it because I just have a block against people who look like that, or do I have something else going on? And so I think their goal-wise, that's one of the things that they line up beforehand to know, and then they attack it precisely, though.
Well, I'd say probably, I'd say to what you're saying, like Barack cracked that code, I think big time. He's one of the first people that really, did it on an immediately. Like, MLK, it took a long time. History bore it out.
Yeah.
But, Barack was able to crack that in about 2 years, Nobody saw that coming.
Hey, good morning, everybody. If you're joining in, coming in and out.
Daniel Meza.
Good morning.
Blanton.
We want you to know what we're talking about is unifying today. That's what we're talking about. Lamont has something to say here. Sometimes fear keeps people from going with big change. This has happened from Moses to now. And that's exactly right. That's
Very
exactly
much
right.
So.
And not only that, so you can have a leader that promotes goals that imply or feed on fear. And so if you don't mind, if I just bring one goal from a leader now, and I can see a positive to it, but I can also see a negative to it.
Okay.
The goal of making America great again.
All right.
So at first blush, you would think that there's nothing wrong with making America great again, right?
Right.
Think about that. Come on. Seriously, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the again. It's the problem. When back in the 50s, when you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
no, it sounds. Just put it out. It sounds right.
It's a message that has fired up a portion of America. It's a message that has caused some victories. People, in particular, Trump, and there's others below him in the party or whatever, that have won on that message. And that kind of message can be deployed in organizations, companies, whatever it may be.
It's branded a movement. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
It's their slogan, you know.
It is. And so there you have a leader who has put forth a message. That's my second point. And it has worked in some ways. But do you see any problems with it? And I guess you maybe alluded to this a second ago there.
It's I mean, it's short-sighted. I mean, it doesn't. I don't see the big. I mean, going back to being on the right side of history. It's man. I mean, it may get you some short-time wins, but I mean, the damage it does on the way there. I mean, that's it's the opposite of unifying.
So I would say, if you're going to make a goal, goals for them to be understood and for them to win need to be extremely clear. And I would say that message isn't super clear because, again, it has a bunch of assumptions already written into it. That once America was great once before, and apparently it must not be now. So let's do it again. But then you've got to be very specific about how that has to happen, how that works for everyone, not just from the perspective of the person who's saying it, because then that becomes a short-sighted goal. It's a goal, but it's short-sighted if it doesn't include everything, everybody, and everyone, and it's specific about what it looks like to each and every person, because every American doesn't have the same experience in America. So if you're going to make America great again, what do you mean by America? You mean the land, the people? What do you say? Or all of it together? So if you're going to do that, what do you mean by it? So goals are good, but if they're not clear, they can lead to more confusion, and then people will co-opt what they think.
Don't you believe it's obviously purposely that he's leaving that part out to create the diversity?
Well, yeah, and I don't want to speak specifically for him, but what I do want to say is that if I'm a leader, the responsibility as a leader, I'm going to speak just from a leader's perspective. If I'm going to lead anybody anywhere, I need to be very clear about where I'm leading you.
Yeah.
So if I just say vacuous things so that I could then just cut and paste what I want it to mean as it goes along, that's not good leadership. That's just kind of going by the seat of your pants. If I'm going to tell you I've got a goal and I'm going to be courageous to stand by that goal, it needs to be clear. And it needs to be clear to where when anyone hears it, they get what you mean, and it shouldn't that these people get this meaning and these people get this meaning. That means it really wasn't that clear. What do you think?
I actually think it's clear.
You think it's clear? Okay.
I agree it is short-sighted, and it's intended for a certain audience.
Sure.
In many respects, that's sort of brilliant because you're speaking to an audience, you're firing up a group.
Right.
He's talking to a community, and I think it's very clear. He's saying, bring it back. We want to make it the way it was, the good old days, basically.
But we don't know what do you call in the good old days? Though? That's what's not clear.
And he's purposely doing that, though.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you,
I know what the good old days are. Okay,
we do.
But you know, the people he's talking to
address
don't.
America.
The people that he's talking to get offended when you refer to that might be what he's referring to. Like, no, he doesn't mean it like that. It's like, well, what does he mean? It's like, well, I don't know, but it's not that. Because I'm not racist. Why would I know?
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, thank you. That's a good insight right there. So when he says that, so this is a good point. Can we just on that the "Make America Great Again" point? Could it be, and this might be correct, what he's saying here, that those people who are fired up by it, they don't believe it is offensive. In fact, and they don't believe that they're doing anything wrong, nor do they believe they're being racist or anything like that.
Agree.
So people don't inherently they don't think they're doing the wrong thing when they're doing you know what I mean? They think they're doing the right thing. I mean, and what do you do with that?
So then you just said earlier that Beto, for example, had a message that it was pretty, would you say, how clear is his message compared to the other message of "Let's Make America Great Again"? Would you say one's clear? Or would you say one is? What would you say?
I think they're equally sort of idealistic.
Got you.
So I think that, and it equally inspiring. But I think one message probably, I could be biased, is more inspiring to a greater mass of people. Except for the fact that he has a flag, he has a Democrat flag and he has a Republican flag.
Yeah,
sure.
And some people would say it's just as divisive too.
Yeah,
but because it's divisive as in because he's wearing a flag or the message itself.
Not what he's saying. I mean,
so I want to hear that. How's that?
Well, I mean, he's say what he did with Colin Kaepernick, that thing that went viral with him talking about how a true patriot is the one that kneels.
that doesn't, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean that guy, that was a flamethrower, man. I mean, that guy, for progressives, that everybody's like, wow, that really sitting forward, and nationally on the progressive news or whatever, cable news, that helped a lot. But I'm telling you right now, that might have been his death nail in Texas. I'm serious.
No, you are. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
But it's
yeah, and what also it caused, it was a cultural war. I mean, it sort of it caused people to run into their camps.
Tribes.
Yes.
Yeah, tribes. Yeah.
Sure. So then that's not that might, while it may be a universal message on some level, it's not a unifying message if it made people dig down deeper into the trenches that they already held beforehand, because that's based off of then how they're interpreting what he's saying. So I would like to think, if we're talking about it from a leadership perspective, the great leaders are specifically clear. You understood exactly what MLK was talking about. He didn't leave any room for you to interpret it one other way. You couldn't interpret that he was talking about a different group. You knew exactly which group he was talking about and which one, although he was speaking for many. So if I compare his message, which I really believe was a unifier, even though people disagreed with him, then you take the message today and it's like, did it really unify if all it did is make everyone trench up more into their camps? That's the question that I'm throwing out there.
Tough.
I think the intent.
Shelley, Daniel?
Yeah, I think the intent in both cases. I have this view of people. I believe people are good. Okay, that's right. That's what I go with. And
flawed at the same time.
Exactly. And I don't believe that when Beto made that comment, he was intending to create a war or battle, or he was intending harm.
No, he's just speaking his truth. That's,
right.
I mean, that's what he believes to be true.
Can we say the same thing when Trump says that?
Absolutely. Yep. That's what I'm saying. It's two sides, maybe the same coin. It's just two different perspectives.
So then, is there a way to be in the more unifying? Because that's what we're talking about today, folks.
That's So again, I would think a unifying message has to be one that has to be understood as, what does unify people? That's the first question you have to ask. Because if you just assume what unifies people, you're probably not going to unify people.
What about opportunity?
So, opportunity of?
Opportunity to be able to succeed if you do your best.
Yes. Yeah. But you got to explain to us how, because many people have said that before, and it was written in laws.
Yeah, I mean, you go to South Dallas or anywhere, South Dallas, anywhere, and just say, hey, just pick yourself by your bootstraps. You're like, man, but I don't even know where a bootstrap is, man. I
didn't design the bootstrap.
I live in the same house I lived in for the last 6 generations. We all live, what?
As you can tell, we are solving problems today, folks.
We're making more.
We are solving problems. But so we can agree on this. So number one, in order to unify, one key element would be a good leader. And then number two, setting clear goals. Yeah. And then number three,
messaging. I think we go professional, but
number three would be, now that you have clear goals, now it's about the action part. How do you then act towards those goals? Because sometimes you can have a great goal, but do the opposite thing that you need to do to it, right? So, for example, people have the goal to lose weight, yet they still eating fast food and ordering Domino's pizza when they don't feel like getting out because it's raining.
That's right.
That's against the goal, but notice they did it even though it was a goal. So if it's first that you have to be a leader, but you got to understand what a true good leader is. It's not just someone who has people following them. It's a person who then finds the leader in other people and is able to draw out the leader in other people. Not just a person looking for followers. That's not the real leader. Then when you have goals, they have to be clear and then actionable. And then that last part is the action. What action are you going to take towards your goals to make sure that they happen?
Well, let's hear this gentleman over here, Daniel Mesa. Can you read that over there?
Yeah. Daniel says, when a person is followed and knows what the person that is saying those words, you have an idea of where they are taking the message, as opposed to someone who doesn't know the person, if that makes sense. See the see more. I'm trying to get the see more in there. That makes sense. This is as much as it'll let me read from here.
So when a person has followed and knows what the person that is saying those words. Oh, so I think he's trying to say, like, you have a leader and you know that they're sort of true to form. It makes it easier for others to follow, I guess, as well. But back to your point, that a leader is not really after just followers. The leader is inspiring others to be their better selves.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Think about it. When Martin Luther King, I hate to keep going back to him because I know it's a cliche by now to always go back to MLK, but it's a perfect example. When he said, I have a dream, he didn't come out saying, here's my 5-point plan to kick those people who are oppressing us in the face and take back. That's not what he said. He said, on a unifying thought, I had a dream that all these people were able to get together and they were interacting with us and it had nothing to do with their skin color. That's a universal thing that anybody can agree to, that you can't take that wrong one way or the other unless you just want to be that guy. See, so that was a way that he explained it. He used a dream. First of all, who doesn't have dreams? And then second of all, who doesn't want unity that's laid out in such a picture that you can't miss? He brought up kids. That when your kids and my kids play together, which means he's already future casting what other generations might have to live through, don't you want the best for your kids? And so do I. In order for them to do that, it has to do nothing about the skin color, but the content of their character. Boom, that's all he had to do. That's a unifying message. That can't be taken.
Okay, so then let's get to that. I like this. So the message, so why don't we look at Make America Great Again? How can you modify that where it creates a idealistic sort of dreamlike thing that is talking about the future to help everybody?
Well, I think if you're going to try to restate that, it's how about let's have an America that everybody can believe in again, right? Because not everybody believes in what America was, because for most of us in America in the past, it wasn't a good thing to be in. So
say it again, say it again.
So I want to say something that has to do with, hey, let's create an America that we believe in again. All of us.
If you're just reforming the message, I mean, just think about the way he's, when Trump, he thinks it's all about him. Make America great again. He's talking about him making America. How about you just drop again, put let's at the first.
Let's make America great.
All right. Let's think about everybody, not just about one guy. It means
let's create an America that we believe in.
Let's make America great. I like let's make America great.
It always works.
Folks, we got 3 minutes left here. You know, we keep it real. Lamont, some people of color might take Make America Great Again as bringing manufacturing jobs back, or and so and that's what I was thinking of. And so in that way, let me just click on this a little bit more if we can see that. Oh, and that's if they have not heard the rest of his comments. Yeah, so the problem also with some of the leaders, they say these other things as well. I saw Vicky had a comment over there too that I thought was pretty good. But I think we have just touched the surface here. And thank you, Michael. That was some interesting insight because you just taught me something here. And hopefully for others as well, that there are many people who are, when they are chanting this Make America Great Again, they don't understand that other people are offended by it and they don't believe they're doing anything offensive. Same token, on the Bento side, there might be some things that they believe in, they communicate or whatever else. They don't believe they're being offensive or anything like that. Another group takes it as being offensive. And that's just sort of, I think, with this election that has happened, I think everything's going to be perfect now. That's what like, if we don't have anything to worry about, it's all going to be gravy. I don't think that's going to be the case.
There it is. Vicky says the issue of MAGA is when was America at its greatest in the past? Exactly. Perhaps it's the ideal of America or the reality of believed supremacy of certain groups.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree with that. That's what I think when I hear that. I think that for sure. So let's wrap it up here. We have to wrap it up. I know. We just got. We
need to get started sooner. Seriously, man, because we cut off.
We do 30 minutes. But what we want to do, we might want to take this talk. To various happy hour spots because that's where
an idea.
That's what
Let's make happy hours great again.
They would never be bad. Are you kidding me? Right? I've never met a bad happy hour. But so in any event, so what we're going to do is we're going to be thinking about where we can do this talk other places.
That's right.
Time to time. But we gotta close this down because I got deals to do, you got deals to do, you got things to do, and we enjoy this so much. We thank you for joining us. Closing comments, please.
Yeah, well, if we're going to talk about something collectively like America, I think we need to understand what America actually is and what it means.
Yes.
And then can we believe whatever we think America is supposed to be together? That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
So, what do we believe about America?
Yes.
I just want everybody to know this. I just want everybody to be, even though Beto lost, we we did. I say it again, the way it started, we killed it in Dallas County. It was great. We got judges, a new DA. Oh my gosh, that's going to be huge. Colin, a lot of House races. Now we got to start looking for, look for a mayor that can steer this city in the right place. Got some council members we got to vote in come in May, and look out for Buffalo Tree to do some events.
Yeah, we're gonna do
those.
We're gonna definitely work with Buffalo Tree. That's a very exciting. Hey, thank you all for joining. I'm gonna leave it there with those closing comments, and we will see you next Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day, and let's make America great.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
All right. All right, that was good.